Good to have you again in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Now, do we have any law that regulates the relationship between landlord and tenant as it were in Nigeria?
Yes. For instance, I must say that I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Highlight, put some highlights on the issue.
Thank you very much.
In Lagos State, we have the Lagos State Tenancy Law.
Okay.
And that law came into effect in 2011.
Oh, good.
And today, it defines the rights of the tenants.
Of the tenant, okay.
And as well as that of the landlord.
The landlord, okay.
And equally, in the event that the landlord says he wants to sever the relationship between himself and the landlord under the tenancy law,
yes,
there is still the guideline you must follow
yeah,
in evicting legally your tenants. So you don't just wake up and say, I don't like your face again.
Yes, please. We've
been doing well, but now it's like you've done something, and then the next thing you just evict and say, pack your things and go.
And we have also, let me butt in. We have also had cases of landlords who enviously evict tenants because the tenant is a successful tenant and the landlord stays in the same house. So because he is envious of the success of the tenant and he feels that, hope this guy will not come and buy over my house one day because he's successful. Let me quit. So now, let me say this. In recent times, sometimes last year, there was a case of a woman a landlady to say, who ignorantly pulled off the roof of a house because the tenant was possibly maybe not even owing, but it was not a cooperative tenant. So she took the law in her hands to pull up the roof and, leaving the tenant to suffer a lot of damages. What do you think she should have done in that aspect?
Thank you. Any landlord,
yes, please,
who for want of wanting to evict a tenant,
yes, please,
goes ahead to either demolish property,
yes, please,
alter the property, or causes inconveniences
on the tenant,
as regard the property where the tenant is legally occupying. That landlord in every fair has erred in law. And the quickest means to address that is for the tenant to report the matter to the police. You've come to find out that there are several tenants, several of them don't really know what their rights are under the law.
And that brings us to the fact that tenants don't read the terms of agreement they signed before they took the house. Now, I was in Ibadan yesterday. A lady rented the house last year. Till today, the agreement is still in the wardrobe where she left it. She has not read through, neither has she signed the agreement. And her rent is almost going down already.
But let me help you a bit. I think Nigerians generally, we don't pay attention to our laws. Just only tenancy. An average Nigerian does not even know basic content of the Constitution. True. As regards to your rights. That's why you see people come around, they can just do whatever they like to you, and you just feel like, oh. So, like you said, what should be your advice? What would be your advice to tenants when it comes to entering into a tenancy contract?
Now, you're going to find out that, a lot of people, for maybe a lack of that knowledge,
yes, please,
or sometimes when people are desperate to get an accommodation, you present them with this issue of maybe tenancy agreement,
yes.
And then you say, oh, you are going to pay for the professional fee. And in the actual sense, the law says whoever retains a professional, as far as that relationship is concerned, should be the one paying.
To pay.
But today, it's not like that. So when you are moving into a place,
yes,
you're buying a property or you are renting a place, the landlord says to you, we have agency fee. Even if you are actually not meeting with an agent, you are coming to the landlord directly. He tells you the rent is, for instance, 100,000.
Yes.
Agency fee
10%.
If it is even 10%, is okay.
Fair.
Around this environment, they will tell you you are paying a yearly rent,
Yeah.
and then you are giving us 2 years agency fee. We've had cases like that.
Of course, you're right. I totally agree
And
with you. Which
for the
is
fact
wrong.
that they know that the law forbids for a landlord to take more than maybe for instance, somebody who is going for a yearly tenancy,
Yes, yes.
for you to take more than yearly rent or a year's rent.
Yes.
There's okay, no problem. Even if the government is able or the law is able to achieve that, the law didn't extend to the agency fee. So at the end of the day, they tell you, okay, so and so is the agency fee, and then agreement, because that's what they call agreement and commission.
Commission, yeah.
Commission is that of the agent, and then the agreement is the one that will bring about the agreement as binding the two parties in that relationship. So what they do is that they collect the money from the tenant, and for the fact that they know their intentions, they may actually not come with such an agreement. You won't even have any agreement to sign in the first case, or even when the agreement is so prepared, a tenant who is letting a place sits down and then you present the agreement to him, the next thing he starts signing. Not even minding
the terms
of the agreement.
So let me get a clarification. You were saying that the burden of paying professional fees should be on the is this supposed to be on the landlord or the tenant, from what you said?
The person who retains a professional should be the one paying for the service of a professional.
So it shouldn't be the tenant paying for
it should not be the tenant paying for such service.
Now, sir, let me cut in a bit now. I think one of the fundamental issues that we have with landlord and tenant hassles is, from the onset, there's this popular saying that they say that if you want to hide anything from a Nigerian, put it in a book. Now, because this is my purview as well, I know that I've seen a lot of cases. A average Nigerian don't even go through any form of documentation, or don't go through his tenancy agreement before she enters upon any contract. Now, in the agreement, there are sections that state the landlord's obligation. There are sections that state in clear cut the tenant's obligations. But we have seen tenants who don't even, now a tenant moved into a house in the past, sometimes during last year, and upon entry, just a few weeks after the tenancy commenced, the tank that houses the water in the restroom fell down naturally. Nobody was in the restroom when the tank fell down. And he called me, I got the tank that houses my water in my restroom fell off. So who's going to fix it? That it was not in the it was not in the restroom then, it was in the living room watching TV. That the landlord should come and fix it. In that case, who do you think will be responsible for that repair? Based on the tenants, the obligations that are clearly stated in the agreement.
Well, if you check the tenancy law,
yes, please.
At every given time, the law says, in the absence of an agreement, what the law will do as it relates to the regulation of that relationship. But you come to find out that even when there is no agreement, there are some basic rights enshrined in the provision that protects the rights of the tenants. For instance, the law says part of the right of the tenant is to enjoy or have a peaceful enjoyment of the property. And then that the landlord should put the property in a tenantable condition. So if you have a situation whereby the overhead tank falls down, it should not be the duty of the tenant to go and take care of the what's it called, the overhead tank. But if you are talking of maybe wear and tear as a result of your usage of a particular place, let's say your apartment or something, at least it should be expected that you should be the one taking care of your environment just to make it nice. But when you have what they call a common area
Common area, yeah.
for the use of everybody.
Yeah.
It will be the duty of the landlord
Yeah.
to take care and ensure that that area remains tenantable, in a tenantable condition. Not otherwise that, oh, okay, the tenant, because you live here with me, you should be the one fixing. Except, for instance, maybe the landlord is not there, and then you have a lot of tenants in the home, and then somewhere along the line, those things that they use on daily basis, you know, like the tank and some other places, depending on even the agreement. If it is under a lease, whereby maybe you have to stay for about 5 years, maybe 10 years, there are some of those things that you willingly fix without even putting the notice, calling the tenant, the landlord into the matter. But if it's something that the landlord is under obligation by law to fix, it will be out of place for a landlord to impose that responsibility on the tenants to take care of such an issue.
Okay, Barrister Sylvester, let me say this quickly. As a prospective tenant, it is very critical, not just critical, but very important for you to request for the terms of lease of any property you want to rent before you make any payment. Before any payment is made, you might need to request for a draft of the tenancy agreement. The mistake that we do in this part of the world is we request for a draft of the tenancy agreement after payment, which is putting the horse before the cart. Which is wrong. If you make payment and they give you the tenancy agreement and you're not comfortable with the terms of engagement there, are you going to request for your money? So now, when we come back from the break, we shall look at those issues and also look at the rights of every landlord over his tenant. As a tenant who has paid for a house, does your landlord has a right to come into the house at any time he likes? Or he does not have any right at all? When we come back, we shall discuss further on that. Let's go on the property show on Galaxy Television. And of course, our topic of discussion this afternoon has been the issues relating to landlord and tenant relationship. We've discussed a lot, but we still have our guest in the studio, Barrister Sylvester Okosudo, a legal practitioner and a property consultant. Now, Barrister Sylvester, now, as a landlord who owns a property and has rented out to a tenant, what are the rights that you have over your property, even as a tenant lives in the house?
Some of those rights.
Yes, please.
The number one of it will be for you to receive your rent.
For me, I think that's the first entitlement, in my opinion.
So, right to receive your rent.
As at when due.
As at when due.
Of course.
And when, so inculcated in your agreements.
Agreement, yes.
You have a situation whereby you put it in there that you, from time to time,
Yes.
have that right to inspect your property. At least, if not for any other thing, you want to know the condition and where need be to effect repairs.
That's actually a very valid point, because I've had cases where tenants don't allow their landlords to come into their property. They say, why? Yeah, I've rented it. What is it coming to do?
That is why agreement is very necessary.
Very important.
That's
Try as much as
refer
possible
them to that section of the agreement that is saying you have to come
to
into
let it form part of
the agreement.
the agreement.
Yes.
And then another one is for a tenant to think, okay, because I have now rented this your apartment or your home,
Yes.
then I have unfettered rights to use it for whatever I like.
Okay.
For instance, you rent a property, the next thing you are selling Idiahem, or using a property that is supposed to be for dwelling, for maybe business, or maybe for a brothel. So under that kind of situation, the landlord still reserves the right to issue the necessary notices
And I think we have many of those cases prevalent in Lagos.
Yes.
I was even
When
going to
people
ask
rent
you-
houses for residential purposes.
Yeah, and they do
and
other things
convert
like commercial.
to-
In that case, some people have argued that it is summary, just like you said, summary dismissal. In this case, maybe you just issue a quit notice or a notice to quit. In that case, should you just evict the person without proper, like 6 months?
No,
notice or-
the law envisages a situation like that whereby a relationship that was consummated today is beginning to have issues.
Yes, please.
So under that kind of condition or situation, you are expected to issue what they call statutory notices.
Okay.
For a weekly tenant or tenant at will
Yeah.
is a week notice.
Okay.
A monthly tenant, you issue monthly notice.
Okay.
Quarterly tenant, you issue 3 months notice. And for a 6 month tenant, you issue 3 months notice. And for yearly tenant, you issue 6 months notice. And then at the expiration of that time, that notice,
Yes, please.
the tenant still refuses to leave. The law equally defines the next step to take. What do? You serve 7 days of owner's intention to recover premises.
Premises, okay.
If at the expiration of that 7 days, the tenant is still holding back your property, then the next thing is for you to go to court. You still do not have that right to say, oh, I've issued you all the statutory notices. The next thing is for me to forcefully eject you.
Yeah.
That will be taking laws into your hands.
To your hands.
I think the issue of tenant ejection is something very broad, and
It
maybe
is.
some other time
We cannot even exhaust it.
it has to be a whole day to discuss that.
We cannot even exhaust it.
Okay, I know that some people, like we were saying the other time, some people take up to 2 years rent. What is the position of the law in this case?
The position of the law is that for instance, for even a sitting tenant, the law will enjoin that you don't take more than 1 year.
Okay.
And even for a new tenant, you don't take anything. It is unlawful for you to demand from a tenant or a would-be tenant, anything exceeding a yearly rent. So the law expects that if you are going into tenancy agreement,
Yes.
what you are entitled to is maximum for a yearly tenancy, a year's rent.
But let
Nothing
me
more than that.
But let me butt in now. I think a lot of people have also faulted the Lagos State tenancy law because some section states that you are not entitled to take 1 year rent. 2 years rent.
Yeah.
But that same law excludes some area like Ikeja GRA, Apapa GRA,
Victoria Island.
and a lot of people have said that why was the need for the exclusion? Why can't it be across board? For me, I know for sure that in Lagos State as it were today, that section of that law is not effective. We still have landlords who take 2 years rent, even 5 years rent, and nobody is enforcing anything upon them. So for me, let me say this as my closing remark. Last week, Monday, the 7th day of October, happens to be the World Habitat Day. The Nigerian Institute of Investor Surveyors and Valuers, the housing faculty, organized a rally to commemorate this day. Now, for those who don't know what the World Habitat Day means, it simply means it's a day celebrated by the United Nations all over the world, and it focuses strictly on the rights of people to decent shelter. Now, if you ask me, is our housing situation in Nigeria in a fantastic state? I'll tell you no. But are we moving forward slowly? I'll tell you it's a yes. Now, Barrister Sylvester, it's been a very fruitful and insightful discussion today. I know that we cannot exhaust this topic when we discuss about landlord and tenant. And we shall find a better day to discuss further on this topic. But for our viewers at home, you can follow our social media handles. On Instagram, you can follow the property_show to see our past episodes and more on our treated topics. let me get your closing remark, Najib, so we can bid you also our viewers at home.
Yeah, thank you very much, viewers, for being part of the show today. You heard it all. Landlord and tenant situation issues are very, very common, and my advice to tenants and landlord, firstly to tenants, whatever tenancy agreement, tenancy you want to enter into, make sure you request for the draft agreement before you pay it. And also to the landlord, please make sure that you don't take laws into your hands. Thank you very much for staying with us today. My name remains Najib Adeyemi.
All right, so we'll see you same time next week. Stay blessed.